Good morning. This is my This or That Thursday. My name is Karen Kong, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Ontario. And every week I try to post 2 cards in my group, and I ask my crafting community to vote on a card for me to make live on Thursday mornings at 9. And this week we're making this card. So I am just going to get ready. I'm going to get my my computer set up so that I can see your comments when I'm crafting. So just hang on for a second, and please say hi if you're joining in live. Tell me where you're watching from. It's always nice to have people join in and chat with me, because it's not as nearly as much fun just talking to myself. Hopefully some people will join in. I am starting late today because it's a snow day because there was tons of freezing rain last night, and buses were canceled, and so the kids are home, everybody's home today, and I kind of got a chance to sleep in. Unusual. It's kind of unusual to get to sleep in on a weekday, so it was kind of nice. I'm a little bit behind. Let me just see. All right, so I've got my video going. Oops, I always press the wrong key to get it to display the whole thing. Okay, here we go. All right, so now I've got my video up and I'm ready to switch over to my desktop. So just close your eyes while I move my phone, okay? And we'll get started. I hope this is in the right position. I feel like my my setup has moved or something, but it hasn't. I haven't touched anything since the last time I did a live. Weird. Okay. Oh, I think that's too close. Hang on. It's always a little bit tricky trying to get the right setting and setup when I have to move it every time I set it up. I think that looks okay. All right. Okay, so this is the card we're making. It's a pop-up card. It's really easy. I'll just show you how it opens up. Isn't that cute? And it's really easy to make. I'll show you how. But the background for this is one of my favorite ways to make a background. It's using kind of like a stencil. I'm making my own stencil using the cloud border die and cutting out, oh, where did I put them? Cutting out a few pieces of clouds, and then I use their edge to help me blend on some clouds on my background. So these are the ones I used yesterday. I can reuse them today, and then I'll cut some new ones to create my little cloud background inside. Okay, but you can do whatever you want inside. I mean, you can attach a different kind of, like a ground border perhaps, or even just a strip of DSP. You can do whatever you like with the inside, so it's really up to you to be creative. So I'm going to blend the background. I have some fussy cut images. So that came from the Flight Airy paper. That's this one. If you haven't gotten it already, it's from this year's Sale-a-bration. It's a freebie if you order $60 or more in Canada. And it's beautiful. So I just I keep saying die cut. There's no dies for these. I fussy cut these, and I know a lot of people don't like fussy cutting, and I used to really hate fussy cutting too, but it actually wasn't too bad. I didn't mind it so much. So I fussy cut the image, and then I also fussy cut the sentiment, because I didn't want a big square. I felt it didn't look right. So fussy cut that, and oh, and this is using the new hexagon punch here. So I really like this punch. It does the job really well. I like the shape, and I'm looking forward to using it more, but I used the stamps that went with it, the Heartfelt Hexagon, and it fits perfectly. It looks really good. And so that's, and then I'll do of course, these clouds, and I fussy cut the bird. So that's basically what we're doing today. So let's get started. I think I'll start with cutting my card base, and this is matted onto a 4x4 inch piece of white cardstock. So I have my cardstock for the cloud background, which is just 1/8 of an inch smaller. But I need to cut the mat for it. So if you have never joined my lives before, don't worry about writing down all the measurements. I will provide them afterwards in the video description, so you can just sit and enjoy. Good morning, Sandra. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for waiting for me because I'm late today. Okay, so I'll start with cutting my card bases and the mats and stuff. So let's do that first. So yeah, everything is ice outside right now. I haven't been outside yet, but there's ice buildup on my car. There's my driveways. It looks like a skating rink, and the kids are thrilled that it's a snow day. Everybody's happy to be home. I'm not used to having an audience, but I know my son is hiding in his room, so he's not listening, but I think my daughter is actually on her computer and she has headphones on, so she's not listening either, but feels like I have an audience in the background. Oh, that's right. I'm just looking at Sandra's comment. That's right. You've had your daughter home since Monday. Yep, that's true. You haven't had to get up early. Okay, so I'm going to cut my card base. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and I'm going to cut it lengthwise at the 4.5 inch mark. So it's a 4.5 by 11 piece of cardstock for my card base, and this is Orchid Oasis. So when you look at the back of any package of DSP from Stampin' Up, you will notice that there's a list of colors that they've used in their DSP, so you can perfectly coordinate what colors you want to use with them. So this set says they use boho blue, bubble bath, calypso coral, crumb cake, daffodil delight, flirty flamingo, fresh freesia, garden green, lost lagoon, misty moonlight, pecan pie, and soft sea foam. But I noticed that when I was trying to decide on the colors for my card, I was thinking, you know, this color does not look quite like boho blue, and it doesn't quite look like misty moonlight, and I realized that it actually looks really good with Orchid Oasis, and I was like really thrilled because I haven't had a chance to use Orchid Oasis very much, so I was really happy to bring that out. Okay, so now I'm going to score three times on the 4.5 inch, 5.5 inch, and 6.5 inch measurements. So here we go, 4.5 inch, 5.5, and because I'm lazy, I know the last one is 6.5, but if I turn it around, it's just the 4.5 inch mark from this side. So I don't have to open up the arm because I don't have a lot of room right now. Okay. Ha! Sandra says I would benefit from a scoring tool. Well, yes, I'd have to bring in another tool, but right now I can just do everything on my paper trimmer, so that's handy too. But yeah, the scoring tool, that would be fun to use. Okay, so I'm going to fold that later. I'm going to finish cutting my mat. So I need a 4x4 piece of mat. So I'm going to cut this to 4 inches wide because I need two of them. One for the background of my clouds, and then the other one just to put inside for writing on. Okay. 4. And then I cut two pieces of 4 inch wide. Another 4 inches. Sandra says, oh, okay, yes, it's one of those tools that you think you don't need and then you get it and you don't know why you didn't use it, get it earlier. Possibly, maybe ignorance is bliss in my case. I don't have any more room to put anything. Honestly, I just don't have enough room to put more tools. Okay, for those of you who are wondering what I'm doing, I'm a little bit, let's say, detail oriented. I like that better than obsessive compulsive. But when I use the cutting blade to cut my paper, I do notice that there's like a little bit of a lip, like a piece of the edge of the paper is just kind of pushed up a little bit. And I feel like it, for me, it feels like it's unfinished. So what I do is I take my bone folder and I just run it along the edge and it just flattens it. And then it looks finished to me. So that's just me. So anyways, okay, so there is my mats. I'm just trying to look at what else I need. I think that's it for now. Let's start with the blending of the background, okay? So let's put my card here so you can see. Oh, you know what? Maybe I will fold this first and I'll show you how this folds. Okay, so basically it's going to be a mountain, a valley, a mountain fold. Okay, so let's take my bold folder. I hadn't seen this this fun fold done anywhere else. I just ran across it recently. And it's so easy. I'm surprised that I haven't seen it more often. Okay, so I did a mountain and then a valley and a mountain fold. So it's gonna fold together like this. Okay, so then when you open it up, this will act as your pop-up piece that you can attach things to. So I'm going to take tape and I'm going to adhere these sides together. And I'm going to use this tape, the tear and tape, because I find that it's stronger for these kinds of folds, the fun folds. I do have the other Stampin' Seal Plus, and for some reason, I don't know why I don't take it out more, but it's just this one's handy, and I have the other one put away in a drawer because I don't use it as often, because I save it for these kinds of things, and then I don't use it. So I should probably take it out and test that one out. But this is kind of handy. It's just my tear and tape is like right here and I know it adheres well. So I'm just gonna stick the two sides together. Oh, you know what? I was using my tear and tape, Sandra, yesterday, and I realized that I could see, you know, you can see that little colored bit when you're coming to the end of the roll of tear and tape. And I was thinking, oh, I'd better make sure I put a refill out because I know I'm doing my live tomorrow and I forgot. So I might run out of Stampin' Seal in the middle of this. We'll have to see. So, okay, so I'm just going to shut this. And it's stuck down. So super simple, right? So that's all I did. That's all you have to do to make that little pop-up section. Okay, so it's just going to open up like that. All right, so there's the card base. Let's move that out of the way. And which one? Okay, now the trick is, so I cut two pieces of matte. Okay, they're over here. All right, so this is the slightly smaller one. It's 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. And I'm going to take my border pieces here that I created and I will use them as like a stencil, essentially. Okay, so when I watched somebody else create like a background like this on a completely different card, I noticed that they did it from the bottom up. So I started doing that this time because I haven't done this a lot of times. I've done it on other cards and I couldn't remember how I did it, but I realized when I start from the bottom up, you make your border and then you start moving this up and you realize, oh, I can't see what I did before. I don't know how far up my ink goes and I can't tell if I'm leaving enough white space between the edge of the ink and the next cloud. So I found it difficult going from bottom up. So what I think I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go from top down so that I can actually see what I'm doing. And know how much room I have left before I leave. Like, I don't want to obliterate like the white area here for the clouds. So here we go. All right, so the first color I'm using is Daffodil Delight. So I have the little brushes. So I've always had just the big brushes before that, and then I ordered the little ones, and I thought these are really good for this kind of situation because I'm going to need, you know, to leave the space between the clouds, and the big brushes are more difficult to, not maneuver, but I mean, like, it's, you know how it's like it's just harder to tell where the edge of the brush is, and then you end up like going further along than you intend to, right? Okay, so let's do this. So I'm going to angle it. I'm going to vary the position of my cloud stencil so that I don't just get, you know, the same pattern all the way across. So here we go. So I'm starting with yellow. I've got 3 colors that I used for this. I used yellow, Daffodil Delight, Calypso Coral, and Flirty Flamingo. There we go. All right, so I'm going to do 2 rows of each. That's just the way it worked out on this, with the measurements on this card. I'm just trying to figure out where to position this so that it gives some variation and I have a little bit more room to work with. Like right here, I'm worried I'm going to go right into that cloud there. But I can't move it over too much more because I'm running out of edge. Actually, I wonder if I can just flip it over. Maybe I should do that instead. Does that give me any extra room? I'm just talking to myself here. So this is what I call reality crafting because things happen. I don't have everything all planned out and scripted, and so sometimes mistakes happen, and hopefully, you know, you'll learn from my mistakes as I experience them, and we'll fix them if we need to as we go. All right, so okay, I think that looks good. It's slightly different because I flipped it, so let's try this. Okay, so with the little brush, I have more control over how far up I'm going with my clouds. The bigger brush, I do have, I did end up using the bigger brush for one of my other colors because I could tell that the previous color I used was on that brush was similar, so I thought I'd just use that one, and I wanted to compare. So like I said, the smaller one definitely gives more control. And it's easier to work with when you have smaller space to blend into. Okay, so I'm just debating how dark to make this. You see how the edge is not quite as defined here. I'm thinking I want to do it a little bit darker, so I'm going to redo it a little bit. I'm just going to put this back on top. Oh, Sandra has a good idea to make the cloud mask with acetate. That is an interesting idea. I had not thought of that. Might have to try that. But yeah, then you'd be able to see. I don't think it's a big deal. It's just, like this way is fine because I can see where I'm going. It was just if I worked from the bottom up, which is what I did for the first one, I found it difficult to gauge how far away my clouds were and how much white space I had left. But the acetate is a great idea. You can wipe that off. All right, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to move on to my next color, which is Calypso Coral. Let's see. There we go. All right. So for this one, I used a bigger brush, and definitely it was more difficult. Not impossible, but just a little trickier. Okay. Okay, so I think that's gonna look good. Okay, so here's Calypso Coral. So I have to be a little bit more careful that I don't go too far up. See, like I can see it's going a little bit farther up than I would have liked, but it's fine. I think I need a little bit more ink. So I'm just tapping off so I don't get a big blob wherever I start of ink. See how like I'm losing more white space here than I would have liked. All right. Still looks pretty. Okay. One more layer and then I'll move on to the next color. Actually, I'm going to move this down just a little bit more. There we go. So I'll start from this side this time. And I'm using a fairly light hand. I don't want like, you know, I don't want you to be able to see like the exact swirl where I stopped blending from, which I think happens if you use a heavier hand and a lot more ink. Whoops. Oh, it's okay. So I kept, I'm just realizing that I used the same die cut stencil for this color, but they're very close, and that's probably okay. I should have used the same one that I used before for the, no, this is coral. I'm confusing myself. This is still coral. Anyways, I've discovered by accident that if you use like the same stencil, or that you're blending from one area to another, and it's like if I blended like from here to here, it can pick up the old ink, and so like I could pick up the old ink from here. So if it was a completely different color, you could end up with a muddied kind of color that blended with whatever you've blended from, and it doesn't look as good. So I was just worried that I did that. But Calypso Coral here and the pink are actually close, so, but I didn't do it. Have I completely confused you? Okay, so we'll move on to Flamingo. See, they were so close that I actually marked this one Flamingo so I would know which color I had blended on which piece of paper. Okay. Let's angle it like this. I feel like I haven't got enough ink on. There we go. Sandra, have you used your cloud stencils yet? Have you tried doing anything with it? It's such a pretty background when you do the blending this way. That's nice. And then I'll get some more pink. And let's see how I can angle this one. Maybe I'll turn it again. Yeah, maybe like this. There we go. So I've used my clouds in two different ways. So right now I'm using it as a stencil, and then when I turn it and use it on the inside, I actually use the cloud edge itself and color the cloud edges itself. Whoops. Just gonna have to line this back up again. You haven't used them? We can make more. Okay. I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna add just a tiny bit more down here at the bottom. Let's see. Let's turn it around again. Maybe just a little bit here, just so it's not quite such a stark white border. And then I think I'll just leave it like that, just very gently blended like that. Okay, so that's the background. I'm gonna put these away. All right, so let's mat it. Here's my 4x4, and this is 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. And it's just a 1/16 of an inch all the way around, and I like it just because it gives a nice subtle border. I toyed with the idea of making it a like maybe a Flirty Flamingo edge, but I decided not to. Okay, so this is the front of my card, and I'm just going to go ahead and adhere it to the front. Oops. I'm just going to make sure that I have it facing the right way. I don't want it to be upside down or something. There we go. All right, so the next thing I need, I have a vellum piece of vellum cardstock that is a circle in behind the bird. And so I just need to get this circle die. It's a layering circle die. And I have a square of vellum right here that I'm going to cut out of. I think that's the only thing I need. Oh no, I still need the cut and emboss machine for my clouds inside. So maybe we'll do that at the same time. Okay, let's put this away. Just getting my cut and emboss machine out. I wanted to use the mini, but actually what I wanted to show you is that something that I don't know how it would turn out on the mini, because the pressure of the rollers in each machine is slightly different. It might be tighter or looser than what I have. You know, your machine is going to be unique to you. It's really small differences, but I find that with my machine, if I use the regular sandwich to cut my circles, I end up with a border. It's tight, mine are tight, so I end up with not only the circle edges being cut out, I end up with an impression of the inside edge on the paper as well, which I don't like. So what I do is I change my sandwich up. I take out this number 2 layer, and I use my, where did it go? Embossing machine. Sorry, the layer that I use for embossing instead, so that it's not quite as tight of a squeeze through. And I find that I get my circles cut out without that extra border on it because it didn't press quite as hard. Whoops, it's stuck to the underside. There we go. So you see there's no border. If I had put this through in my normal sandwich, it would have been, it would have had like that extra border cut, pressed into it. Okay, so let me just put this away. And I think what I'll do is I'll also cut that last border out. So I cut 2 of them already so that we wouldn't have to spend so much time watching me cut, because it's the same thing over and over again. So I'm just going to take this. I have 2 of them cut out. I have 3 layers on the inside. So I'm going to just add, I need 1 more. I need to put my number 2 plate back in. And, oh, I need a little post-it note to help keep this in place. So, because it's, the die is a little bit bent now that I've used it several times. So I'm just going to put it here. And put my post-it there to help keep it in place. There we go. Oh, you like the pop-ups, the pop-up slider. Oh, the ones that you've been working on. That's the one you mean, right, Sandra? You did a lot. I cannot believe how many Sandra made. Sandra made a whole pile of pop-up slider cards that she shared with our team, and really great ideas. I really like the one with the windmill on it. That's my favorite. It's so amazing. Okay, let me move this away. All right, so let's assemble the bird and the vellum piece first. So as with vellum, you just got to be careful that I'm going to put this, I'm just going to put my silicone mat so you can see it better. You have to just be careful that you put your adhesive behind something that it's stuck to, or underneath, so that it doesn't show through, where you don't want it showing through like there or around the bird, right? Okay, so I already fussy cut a couple birds because I do have more fussy cutting to do, and I didn't want to spend the whole time fussy cutting because it's it would take up all our time. So this is the same bird, and it fits beautifully. And I also like this one because this little bird's looking up in the sky, because I kind of like him for this card. So I think I want to use him this time. I'm just thinking about how I did this. So I think I just put adhesive behind him. And the reason I brought out my silicone mat is so that when I apply my stamp and seal, I can do right to the edge of his beak and the edges of the leaves and stuff, and it won't, I can apply adhesive right to the edges of these little tricky little corners. And because I'm using it on the silicone mat, it won't stick to anything else. It's really, really handy. All right, so I'm just going to put adhesive on him right to his beak, and there's a little bit there that came off, and I'm just going to push it back onto the paper. But you see all these pieces here. It's not sticking to my table or my paper because I've got it on the silicone mat. Okay, so I'm just kind of pushing them back on so that they don't peek out. I don't think I see any more. Oh, one more here. All right, I think that's enough. Let me just see. I think I didn't put any on this side, so I'm going to put some over here. I think I need my tweezers so I can hold it without getting my fingers in the way. So I'm just kind of guesstimating where it's going to go. and just making sure that I have adhesive in enough spots that it won't stick up. I think I'm missing some here. Oh my goodness, Sandra has more ideas with the window dye, the jungle pal dyes, and the delicate forest. Oh my goodness. You definitely need more time to try all those ideas out. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out how far up to put them, and I think that's probably good. All right, so even if there is adhesive sticking out, again, I'm working on a silicone mat, so it won't show through. Okay, perfect. So now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put my dimensionals on the back, and we'll stick them onto the card. There's my dimensionals. Okay, so I'm going to stick dimensionals just on the spots where it's covered by the bird in the front so that they don't show through the paper. So I'll put one here. And here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think I really like having this little guy here because he's got, he's looking up into the sky, and I think that looks really, it just works for this card, I think. Okay, there we go. All right, so there we have most of the card. I'm going to stamp, let's put this one away. We're going to stamp the sentiment and cut it out, and we'll add embellishments after. And then we have to do the inside. Yeah, I really like this little guy. He's looking up into the sky, and I just think it works for a sympathy card. It works really well. Okay, what am I doing? I'm stamping. All right. I need a piece of, I wonder if this would work. I think this is enough room. I'm going to use this guy. And we'll get out nice stamp set. Okay, so I just make it a habit to put my photopolymer stamps down first on my paper, and then I pick it up with my block because, of course, because they're rubbery and they're flexible, you could end up with it turning or bending. Not so much with the block style, but if it's a long line, like if your sentiment is a long line, you want it to be straight, I would put it down on the paper first and pick it up with a block. Okay, and I'm going to stamp in Orchid Oasis to match my cardstock. Okay, so I'm just inking it up, and I am making sure that it all has ink on all the surfaces before I go ahead and stamp it. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to just fussy cut this out. I know, I'm stamping a sentiment with a block. This one's not so bad, but because it isn't one long skinny line, because when it's one long skinny line, I am prone to rolling it, and then I don't get a distinct image, but I did do it. I didn't use my stamparatus. Okay, so let's see, let's just cut this out. So that's why I already fussy cut the bird last night, because I knew that there would already be fussy cutting with the sentiment. And there's another bird inside that I will fussy cut, but it's not as complicated as the one with all the leaves. So I didn't want to spend all my time fussy cutting for you guys. of course, you know, when somebody's watching, you feel more pressure to get it done right and to get it done quickly. Sometimes it's hard to decide exactly how to make your angles or which lines to follow. You know, it's almost easier when it's like all leaves and stuff because I just follow the leaf. But here with the sentiment, it's like, do I follow all the letters or do I make it straight? Okay, I'm just gonna lop that off. It's easier when I don't have a big piece hanging off the side there. I found I did a lot more fussy cutting with this DSP because there's just so many pretty images in it that you can't, there's no dyes for this, so. Okay, not bad. Not my best, I think, but. All right, it will do. Okay, so this I'm going to adhere right here, I think. I almost don't want to cover up the flowers. I wish I didn't have to cover up the flowers because it looks so pretty like that. I almost want a smaller sentiment, actually. That's what I feel like. I may have to play with this and try and find another sentiment in my set that's smaller. But in the meantime, okay, so I'm going to attach this, and I only need dimensionals behind here because it's going to sit on top of my flowers and my stuff over here, so I don't want that blocked. I'm only going to put it to the middle, and I think I want to just apply a tiny bit of glue, actually. Yeah, you couldn't do fussy cutting with like regular scissors. There's no way. I'm just putting 2 dots of glue. I don't want too much. Okay, so probably like right here. There we go. And I'm going to add a little bit of twine. So I ran out of twine. I don't know why I did not order more. I thought I had some more extra, but I didn't. And one of my team members came to the rescue, and I borrowed a spool from her, and that's why I have some today to work with. And I actually need it for an event. I need to finish off preparing cards for a lunch session next week, and I need it for that too. So a real lifesaver. The only thing is that my order with my new twine comes in on Tuesday, and I needed it for Tuesday, so it would have been too late. So thank goodness for my crafting community. Thank you, Tara. Okay, so this is why I tie my bow on the twine spool, because I can tell already this is more than I need. So I'm going to actually undo it so I don't waste it, and I'm going to retie it again, and that way I don't cut off too much. I know there, you know, it's not really that much, but I just like to conserve what I have. I don't like to waste, so That's what I do. And sometimes you're not sure how big of a bow you want either, and you don't want to waste, like, you know, I made a much bigger bow to begin with for the when I was trying out this card, and I didn't like it, and so if I, you know, I would have had to shorten it and cut off a bunch, and I just, anyways, I'm glad that I do it on the spool, because then it allows me some more flexibility in changing the length. So this time, even now, I'm gonna probably trim that a little bit. So I'm gonna put the bow here, and I use a half a glue dot for this. I always hide I use the half glue dot behind a knot, and I find a whole glue dot is way too big, right? Because it's like way bigger than I need it. I have a separate pair of scissors that I keep for cutting through sticky stuff, and so I just cut it in half, and I only use half, and then you can't see it as much. Oops. Did I not get it? Oh, it's still stuck on here. I did not pull it off. Whoops. I was thinking, why is it not sticking? There we go. Okay, now it's stuck on there. Okay, so, and I have butterflies to add. Where's my butterflies? Butterflies go with so many different things when you make cards, and I think these are an awesome embellishment. So let's take a big one here. Small one. Whoops. One more small one over here. And there. So that's just the outside of our card. Now we're going to do the inside. Okay, so there's the outside done. For the inside, I have more clouds, and so this time, instead of using it as a stencil, I actually just colored the edges of these with the same colors. So let's do that. I'm just going to put this here. And where did my clouds go? Okay, so I have 3 sets of clouds, and let's see, I'm going to use this biggest one. They don't all have to be the same height. I'm just going to adhere the borders, the edges of them when I'm done. So I'm going to do this one first in yellow, Daffodil Delight. So let's start again here. Whoops. Here we go. So this time I'm going this way instead. Okay, there's my daffodil. And I'll do the coral next. Oh, that's Flirty Flamingo. I use coral. And then Flirty Flamingo. So now I have to be careful. If I started blending from here, like from off the paper onto the paper, if this was a completely different color, I have had that color bleed onto where I was blending, so just have to be careful of that when you're doing blending. There we go. All right, so now I have my borders all colored, and I'm going to adhere them. So this is wider than I need. Okay, I only need 4.5 inches wide, but that allows me to kind of play with how I'm going to assemble them and give variations. Otherwise, like, you'd end up with possibly the same patterns matching up, and then you wouldn't be able to see them, right? So see this, I can see the exact same pattern is matching up. So let's see how I can move this over a little bit, because I got to make sure that where they overlap is still 4.5 inches wide. I'm just looking for my ruler. If I adhere it like this, the overlapping section is, yeah, that's still okay. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put tear and tape along the bottom behind it. I think this is about 4 inches wide if I use the guide here. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to put it right here. Okay. So again, I'm just gonna figure out, how did I have it lined up? That's the tricky part, but I mean, like, it's just, you're just playing around with it and making sure that it doesn't look exactly the same. You don't want the same patterns overlapping, that's all. I'm gonna turn it, and then see where my 4.5 inches is right here. So make sure I overlap it enough. Okay, let's just do that. Okay, same thing again. Take the tear and tape, make it about 4 inches wide. I need this one. This is my front piece, so I want it to be straight across the bottom of this one. So I don't want my edges to be chopped off in midair, right? So that's why I'm kind of adjusting as I go. I think that should be okay. All right. So if I place it here, I'm just lining it up with my grid paper, so I know 4.5 inches is right here. So when I cut it off, I'll have some nice edges instead of having choppy edges there, right? So, all right, so I'm gonna put my tape right here. Now I'm gonna line this up again. Okay, so now I'm just gonna take my paper trimmer, and because this, I can't line this up with the bottom, you can't see the bottom, so I'm gonna line it up with my top. So here is the edge of my clouds. Oops, it didn't quite cut through there. I have to do that again. There we go. Okay, so now, I want to cut 4.5 inches. And I want to cut this side, so I'm going to have to do it this way around. I'm going to turn this around so you can see. So lining this up with 4.5 inches on this bottom edge. Okay, so it's 4.5 inches over here, and I'm chopping off this side instead. Oh, I need to do that again one more time. I like to do my cuts towards the supporting bottom edge. Okay, and just double checking here. That way the paper won't move as I pull the blade, right? Because it's being pushed into a side that's supporting the bottom edge. There, that's 4.5 inches. And it will fit onto my card, because this is 4.5 inches wide, and it will fit exactly right here. So let's put some tear and tape here. Okay. Like I said, you don't have to make like this border. You can do whatever you like. You can just cut a strip of DSP, and or you could make it into like the water's edge, like if you were doing like a seashell kind of scene. I think there's lots of possibilities, but you could do just a regular edge. So I think that looks really good. Okay, so let's get rid of this stuff, and then we'll do the last bit of stamping. All right, where did my block go? Nope, right in front of me. All right, so let's take that one off. Okay, so I have this one. This one's a block, like a solid shape, so it's not going to wiggle much. So I'm just going to put it directly onto my block. Okay, and I need, oh, I don't think this is wide enough. Let me just double check. Yeah, that's not going to be wide enough. I'm going to need another piece of scrap. I think this one's wide enough. There we go. Okay. And I need Orchid Oasis. Oh, I still need it. I have to do the frame on this. Okay. I haven't even taken off all the stamps on my sheet. Okay, so this one is a little bit flexible, so I am going to put this one down on the paper and pick it up with my block so I know that it's in the right shape. Just lining it up, which is the advantage of using photopolymer stamps, because then you can see right through and you know you have things lined up perfectly. All right, so let's punch that out. Isn't that perfect? I love how it looks. Okay, let's put this away before I put ink on myself. And I just picked the previous one. I picked because I needed the hugs to show, and I needed a dip in the clouds to show it and adhere it. So I'm wondering how it works out. See, this one's not going to work like that. I'm going to have to either, yeah, I think I'll just move it over just a bit, because I was thinking it might have to go over here, which I could do. Let's see, I have my bird. I didn't fussy cut out this bird yet. So I think what I'll do is I will put it on this side so that the bird can look at it, right? So I'm just going to put some adhesive along the bottom edges here. So right there. And I'll just use tear and tape. And you know what? I remember what I did too. Because it's so thin here, I want to make sure it doesn't show. I actually took it and I sliced it in half, and I just used a half width. So let me take this one off. It's a little bit longer than I need. So I'm just going to just line this up. I wonder if I should just line it up with the side there. I should leave a little bit of room. What do you think? No, I can't see the hugs if I line it right up. Okay, so let's put it right here. Oh, I have a little bit of tape sticking out here, so I'm going to roll it back a little bit. Actually, I wonder if I can just tear it off. No, okay. Let's see if that works. I think that's okay. Be up a little bit further. There. All right, so now it's adhered. I just need to cut out my little bird. I think there are lots of possibilities with this card. I actually made something similar for my son's birthday, and I actually made it into a Pokemon card because he's into Pokemon. Oh, of course the phone has to ring. Just a second. Yeah, so I made it into a Pokemon card. I printed out like a picture of a Pokemon ball and stuff like that. So it's not Stampin' Up stuff, but it's still the same idea, and it turned out pretty good. I'm not quite done with it yet, but there are lots of possibilities with this. You could put flowers inside so that like you get a bouquet of flowers sticking out. Yeah, I think there's lots of possibilities with this pop-up card that you could make. So isn't it a good thing I cut out the other bird already? All those leaves took like quite some time to maneuver around, but this bird's pretty easy. He's pretty good. All right. So now I can just probably just adhere the bird right here. What do you think? Yeah, I think he'll be okay there. So let's put some adhesive on the back, the bottom half of the back. And I'm going to get my silicone mat so I can do the edge of his tail. And I'm going to leave the rest of him. Oh, the overall dimension. It's not exactly your standard size. It's, I think I need a little bit more adhesive here. It's, the finished size is 4.5 by 4.5. And it uses a card base of 4.5 by 11. I'm just debating where to put this little guy. I think I'll just stick him here. All right, so that is the card. Oh, I have one more mat to add, and that's just for writing on. I think that leaves lots of room to write something inside the card because your sentiment is actually glued to the pop-up section, but you can do whatever you like. You can just make it visual here and no sentiment. Be creative. Do something. Do whatever makes you happy. So there you go. There is the card today. So we have our blended background with the clouds, and then I brought the clouds inside to make a pop-up. I hope you enjoyed that. It's really easy. It wasn't hard to make at all. It just, I think the thing that took the longest was the fussy cutting and, you know, blending the background, but the background is just so beautiful. I love the clouds background. The pop-up itself was quite easy, and then you just be creative and decide what you want to do with that. So have a great week, everybody. Hope you'll try out this card and have some fun with it. And I will see you again next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.